And Sars.
Yeah, and Sars.
Sars campaign has dominated everywhere for the past 1 week.
Yeah.
Which has also seen a lot of celebrities join in, from music to movies to entertainment,
Yeah.
to TV.
Yeah.
All sorts of celebrities from
Yeah.
Every sector, every sector of entertainment.
Yeah.
What are your first thoughts on this?
First things first, I'd like to say a big shout out to everybody that has come out to protest. It's been amazing to see Nigerian youths actually come out to confront something that has been besetting us as people for a very long time. Because the problem is not just a problem that affects anybody that is peculiar to one gender or peculiar to a type of people. It affects us all. So seeing everybody come together to actually confront the government and actually do something about it and be involved in it every step of the way without letting your energy be sapped has been amazing to see. As regards to celebrities, I was very skeptical about them for a while. I was really skeptical because these days you have to mean more than the music. I was speaking with a Nigerian celebrity over the weekend and she was saying it's important to mean more than the music. Now, she didn't say this, but this is what is happening. Everybody wants to build a lifestyle brand. A brand where you can still be 50 and still be making music. Some people are like that naturally, say Adekunle Gold and Simi. But for every other person, you have to work for it to end that brand so that you can work on it, you can do anything you want with it, expand. Your music has to be able to co-opt at least 3 themes of life, be able to do something like that. But then, so for that reason, I was very skeptical about them because it's great PR for a lot of celebrities. But after they joined in, you could see how the conversation just skyrocketed from there. What celebrities are, they are like catalysts, they are like enzymes. So you know how an enzyme is to the alimentary canal and to the human digestion. That was what they were. They took that conversation from A. So if you are going to Z, right? They took it from A and they took it to like F within the space of 1 day. What did they do? They are catalysts. They walked into that place because they're recognizable faces, because they have a lot of following, because people love them, because they have access. They can do a lot of things that a lot of people can't do. Everybody can dream it, but they can do it. See the short time it took Davido to actually go to Abuja and have a meeting with a high-ranking member of the Nigerian police force. That is peerless.
Even making sure they didn't arrest protesters.
Exactly, making sure they didn't arrest protesters on Sunday. Look at Wizkid in London. When Dupo tweeted that there was commotion at the High Commission in London, the whole Wizkid came. He came in and everything died down. Everybody wanted to listen to him. The picture he took there is one of the most iconic pictures during the campaign. So you can't take them out of it. But the big question here is, will the conversation still be as powerful without celebrities? Probably, maybe, but would it be this fast? No, it won't be this fast. As a matter of fact, what celebrities did was, on the first day that Fowls, Tiwa Savage, Runtown, Jamo Piper and all of them came out, the conversation was not this powerful. A lot of people were looking to say, oh, should we join, should we not join? People were still considering. They were still dipping their toes in. But after they saw a lot of celebrities, and everybody, by the second day, everybody came out en masse, the numbers increased significantly. Then you saw Small Doctor doing a protest in Agege. You see a lot of people, even in the north. You see Young Six trying to do one in the US. That's peerless. The conversations around the celebrities made the foreign celebrities come into this conversation. A Trey Songz came into this conversation because a lot of celebrities were doing it. Drake came into this conversation. Tion Wayne, Santander, even Santander we can say is Nigerian, but Lil Baby did it. Who will Lil Baby do that for? Davido. So you can't take them out. You have to be able to praise them for that.
Would it be okay to mention some celebrities that you've been impressed with?
I mean, yeah, it would be. But the problem is, if we do that, we might talk about some that we are not impressed with.
Oh, okay.
And that would not be fair.
Okay.
I mean, in the grand scheme of things, all of them that came out had a role to play. The problem is the problem will forever remain the ones that didn't come out. As regards the ones that didn't come out, we'll get to that later. But for the ones that came out, you can't. The fact that Tiwa Savage took up her phone to record an IG live while she was protesting would have said, oh, Tiwa Savage is there. You know how people are. it's a world of stand culture where people idolize celebrities. The fact that someone is there, someone you adore is there, you want to go out and do the things that they are doing. They will inspire you to do it. If you were afraid that you were going to get shot before, the fact that a celebrity is there, leaving their homes and their children behind to come out and protest, will make you go there and say, oh, I want to do this too. And that was what happened. That was exactly what happened. So you have to give them credit.
Okay. How do we, kind of like know the intention behind this? Like you said, some are doing it for PR, some are actually doing it for real.
Yes.
Does it matter what they're doing it for, or how can we differentiate them?
To be honest, there is no evidence to the affirmative if they are doing it for PR or not. But, like I said the other time, look at the Jay-Z, for example. Jay-Z is one of the greatest of all time because it means more than the music. Look at Burna Boy. The music wouldn't have taken Burna Boy to the level where it currently stands without something behind it. A message has to back it up. Something has to resonate, especially when to the rest of the world, the standard for the African artist is Fela. And Fela means more than the music. For better or worse, sometimes it doesn't make sense because it puts unnecessary pressure on these guys.
Like we saw with Davido.
Like we saw with Davido. Like we even saw with Burna Boy. We'll get to that later. But the thing is, it is good PR for them. You have to mean more than the music. Especially as most of the guys that came out, they've been in the industry for a long time. Most of the guys that led the conversations, they've been here for at least 5 years. Fauzi's debut body of work was in 2013. Runtown has been here since 2010, 2011. All of them. So the fact that they came out for that might be PR, maybe. It's good PR for them. Especially when you consider that, oh, Davido is releasing an album soon, Wizkid is releasing an album soon. Runtown needs a bit of publicity, maybe. Fowles needs it. Everybody needs publicity. And there is no form of bad publicity. It seems a cliche, it seems insipid, but there is nothing like bad publicity. So you can't completely take that out of the conversation. It helps them, but it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. What matters is, does he achieve what they set out to, are they achieving what they set out to achieve? The answer is yes. And we have to move on from there.
How does this help them outside of music?
What do you mean by outside of music, though?
Like for example, Davido is someone who just 2 weeks ago said,
yes,
he
likes to run for office. Yes. Yes.
Wizkid didn't really, back Wizkid's debut album, came out. He was a pop star.
Yes.
Now he's telling us that he's one of us.
Yes.
What does it mean outside of music? Outside of life, outside of music, do you think there's a political thing, or what do you think?
Number one,
does this set them into a path of being activists or whatever?
Yes. Number one, it means that a lot of them they are maturing and they are thinking about the future. The things that were not important to them before are important to them now. That's one thing it means. That's the number one thing it means. But number two, for a Davido, for example, you can't completely ignore the fact that he said he was going to run for office at some point in his career. But you also have to look at the fact that Davido is not affected by Sars. Davido's father is a billionaire. If Davido doesn't do this, nobody's going to die. You will make noise and make noise and make noise, and it will be fine. The same thing with Wizkid, the same thing with all of them. You can't kill them if they say they are not coming out. But then, you can't excuse the fact that a Davido over the past 2 weeks has been doing sort of a clean-up job on his image. He went on he went on Bounce Radio, right? And he had a conversation with Ebuka during the Black Box interview, and he was saying that he didn't even expressly admit that they had a beef with Burna Boy. That's someone who is careful of his image. He intentionally mentioned the fact that he's a father, and because of that, he can't jeopardize anything. That's someone who is careful about his image. And then, about a few days later, Lil Frosh, his signee, got accused of domestic violence. What Davido did instantly was dismiss the guy. Now, make no mistake, he wasn't the first artist to have a problem. To have a problem that is a famous problem like that. Peruzzi has had a few. Before then, there was this issue with Rema that a lot of people, nobody was dismissed. But all of a sudden, Lil Frosh gets dismissed. And for him to come out and do that, while that benefits everybody, it does benefit us. you have to have a build-up if you're going to run for office at some point. There has to be a track record of excellence, of involvement in political activism. He took a knee with those guys. It's on record. There's a picture of it. There's an evidence to do that. He led a delegation of people to meet a high-ranking member of the Nigerian Police Force. That's a record. He doesn't have to do it, but he did it anyway. He's putting himself in that line. While you can, we don't have any evidence to do that, but we all know how it is. There is nothing is accidental when it comes to a lot of superstar artists. Nothing is accidental. Even if you don't want to do it for certain reasons, they'll tell you that you have to do it because it's going to look good on you. And that's it. You have to move on.
Okay. Then talking about also artists, big artists,
Yes.
doing things, intentional things.
Yes.
Wizkid announced that he's postponing the release of his album
Yes.
Made in Lagos, his
Yes.
fourth album.
Yeah.
He said it's because of the NSAS,
Yes.
solidarity with the NSAS process.
Yes.
So do you think that's the main reason though?
I mean, it's one of the reasons, but the major reason I think it's not exactly, the reason for the postponement is not activism. It's not exactly activism. It's mostly strategic. Look at it this way. Olamide released his album last week Thursday, right? Dai released an EP on Friday. A few other people, Manuel's dropped an EP, a lot of other people dropped EPs. Guess what?
They didn't care.
It's not that people didn't even care. Who cared? The problem is the EPs, the attention, in a world where attention spans are shrinking by the minute, the attention span shrunk even further or even faster. Because why? People were focused on other things. There were important things at hand. There were more important things at hand. People couldn't concentrate on that. It's like telling people to choose between life and enjoyment. The person with their life will enjoy. What the fuck are we saying? So if a Wizkid, let me ask you a simple question. Do you think Wizkid would have released that album if the topics on that album were political?
Yes.
That's the answer right there. The major reason why he's not releasing this album is because he doesn't want the noise of the album to be drowned out by NSAS protests. As much as that is also benevolent, because you don't want your conversation to be overshadowed, to derail the thing. The strategy is also there because there's a possibility that your album is going to be overshadowed by the conversation. But should they have released the album? Should have released it. It's Wizkid.
Yeah.
It should. But we'll move on. That's fact only.
Burna Boy became a conversation.
Yeah.
People wanted him to do more.
Yeah.
He wasn't around.
Yes.
Although he came out to say his mom was recovering.
Yes.
Things like that. So what do you think about the whole situation?
First things first, I think there are two parts to this conversation. There's a right and there's a wrong. There's a right on the part of Burna Boy, there's a wrong on the part of Burna Boy. There are parts where the people are right about Burna Boy. There are parts where people might not be so right about Burna Boy. And let's look at Burna Boy as a person. Burna Boy was born into a family of people who are closely affiliated with Fela. His grandfather used to manage Fela. His mother, there are rumors that his mother used to dance for Fela. But those rumors are definitely unfounded, but they are there. Burna Boy's favorite artist ever is Fela. Burna Boy carries Fela on his head. The Pan-African rhetoric that Fela ran with, that defined a large part of his career and his personality and his values in life, Burna Boy shares some of those values. As a person, Burna Boy has a lot of avant-garde traits. Fela does too. But here's the thing. Has Burna Boy ever said he's Fela? No. There was an ill-advised moment where he went on stage and performed in his underwear, which was just very, very annoying. But he has never come out to actually say that, because a lot of people have actually done the same thing. Do things like Fela, make Afro beats and all these things. Imitations, pale imitations of Fela. However, where Burna Boy throws himself bang into these conversations is where Burna Boy goes into certain interviews and is condescending towards Nigerians. You can't tell Nigerians that you are not doing enough, and then you yourself, you are guilty of the same thing. That doesn't work. It doesn't make any sense. Makes no sense at all. But where he was wrong in this, where he threw himself under the bus in this entire conversation was, When Yele Sowore came for him, Burna Boy didn't handle it properly. All Burna Boy had to say was very simple. Hi Yele Sowore, thank you for the offer. I would like to join a protest, but I wouldn't want to join yours. A protest by a politician is a campaign trail, and I don't want it to seem like I am endorsing a politician. Simple, it would have died. But it turned it into a back and forth. And people who had grievances in their minds towards him for a long time, they saw the chance to actually go at him. And he couldn't really come back. So for a long time before he announced that his mom had surgery during this time, it felt like he was dragging his feet. He felt like he didn't want to come out because he didn't want people to say, oh, you're coming out because we tensioned you to come out. And even the fact that his mom has been sick, which is a scary thing, that's a mother. Like, the entire thing is huge. But then this is your mother. You can't tell people to tweet when their mother is down with something. However, even though he says his mother was ill, there was a video that came out on the day that the Sars protest started of him and Wizkid in the studio recording. Even if the video had been recorded earlier, the timing was terrible. So how do you expect us to reconcile those things together? You will understand if a lot of people come out and say, oh, the surgery that his mom had, the timing to announce it is actually convenient. Because look at it this way, his girlfriend actually came out and tweeted around that time. Nigerians came for her, but guess what? She also said Burna Boy has something, he's working on something spectacular for us.
Yeah.
He has been on billboards since then, but has that been enough? He released a statement, wrote something, blah, 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 but is that enough? You call yourself the African giant. You claim that everything you have done have been for us. You claim that this, that. I don't support Yele Sowore. I think Yele Sowore is a camera whore, and that's facts only. But the problem is, the way Burna Boy has handled this thing by himself is been slightly problematic. You can't call yourself the African giant, and when your people are fighting, are going into the biggest protest in a long time, you are nowhere to be found.
Even as
his mother is before the announcement of the surgery, like I said.
Yeah. But what of the perspective of the mom recovering from surgery?
The perspective of the mom recovering from surgery changes a lot of things. But then his girlfriend, before then,
and the
video with Wizkid, the timing of which the video came out. Come on. I mean, if it is true that his mom is definitely ill, or she has had surgery, that changes a lot of things. But it then matters what Burna Boy does from here on out. It's a good save. Whoever came up with that, if it's true, if it's true, then great timing for them. But if it's not true, whoever came up with that is a brilliant person, because it is smart.
So what of the perspective of his mom recovering from surgery?
It changes a lot of things. It changes the dynamics of certain conversations. It depends on what Burna Boy does with the African giant thing from here on out. Right now, that reputation has been shot to bits.
Okay.
Even though his mom,
he has a legit reason to be absent from it, the build up to the announcement of his mom's surgery was not exactly brilliant. Okay.
So you can't necessarily. It depends on what it does from here on out. It needs a cogent survival tactic. Even though his mom had that surgery, it needs a cogent survival tactic for people to be able to get on the side again. And by people, I don't mean a stance.
Yeah.
I mean regular people.
Okay. That's about Burna Boy.
Yes.
Another person who came in the conversation was Naira Marley.
Yes.
Who said he was leading a protest, and all of a sudden he had an IG Live interview with Frank Umba. Since then, we've not heard anything about. We've not even seen him on a protest ground.
Yes.
What's up with Naira Marley?
I mean, that was just a shambolic occasion. It was problematic. It was I would understand why Naira Marley might want to do that. Look at it this way. Naira Marley, his reputation is not exactly the best. His brand is not exactly the best.
Yeah.
His brand resonance is sort of finicky. I mean, sort of shaky in the eyes of people. And for a guy who's been in court for different reasons over the past 2 years, the moment of him standing toe-to-toe with Frank Mba and having a conversation about SARS. It's good for him. But should he be the one having that conversation? Absolutely not. There are better people to have that conversation with. It was a convenient choice by the Nigerian police force. And for Naira Marley, it was also a convenient decision.
Yeah.
But the conversation itself, what did they say? I mean, I wouldn't exactly piss on Naira Marley's intellect. He seems like a smart guy. More than a lot of people give him credit for. But is he the right person to have a conversation? Like Omojua said something on his Twitter about Davido. He said, I appreciate the intention of Davido. I think Davido, for Davido to stand up and go and have this conversation, I think Davido did well. But is he the right person to have this conversation? I don't think so. So if Davido is not the right person to have that conversation, how much less Naira Marley? Because what are the results of that conversation? Nothing. Let's move on.
The bench. We saw him in the meeting.
First things first. What was the band doing there? No. I don't think you got that. What the hell was the band doing there? What was his business in that entire meeting? I mean, he has not been convicted by the court. He has not been doing this, blah, 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 blah. Nobody gives a. The problem is this. You can't use women, you can't use the members of the police to harass a woman that you allegedly assaulted and now come back to try to speak for Nigerians against the police. You are benefiting from your own wrongdoing. How does that even make sense? It doesn't make any sense in any way. Whoever even took the band there in the first place, that person, I don't think that person was thinking. If that was Davido, then he needs to apologize to Nigerians. And Ubi Franklin to speak for Nigerians. The problem was just that Chega Link was there with them. The CDK even protest in Lagos. And he went to Abuja to have a conversation. Only God will save us. Problem here is just that the band is the one that is the most glaring one. And I just want to say the band can piss off, and that's facts only.